welcome to Aaron Plays. This will be episode 13 of my Fire in the Lake playthrough, me playing as the US and the other three factions being played by the Tru'ng expansion bots. In the prior episode, we had a coup. I did a little bit of explaining about the upcoming possibilities of these very powerful cards here, the pivotal events. Okay, so I will now go through a little bit more detail about these actual cards. Each faction has one, and they all have a prerequisite of only being able to play when there are 2+ cards in the ARVN leader box, and then a subsequent prerequisite which is more specific to that particular faction. The reason why I'm going into detail now about these cards and not earlier is we now have 2 cards in the ARVN leader box. So all of them meet that prerequisite. Now, if we go through each of these cards individually, penalization, so play of 2+ cards in the ARVN leader box and less than 20 US troops on the map. Well, I know there's more than 20 US troops on the map, so that is an ineligible card. As soon as there's less than 20 US troops on the map, that will become eligible. Okay, so moving over to the VC's one, Tech Defensive, again the 2+ cards, and more than 20 guerrillas in the south, VC guerrillas in the south, that's South Vietnam. Well, they've got 15 here and they've got a maximum of 30, so there's actually only 15 guerrillas on the map. Therefore, again, this is ineligible. It's unfortunately I can't mark them as ineligible, but there we go. Okay, moving up to the Easter Offensive from the NVA. So play of 2+ cards in the ARVN leader box again, and more NVA troops than US troops on the map. Okay. There are a total of 40 troops in reserve, and now that means there's only 7 left here. That means there's 33 on the map. US troops on the map, there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm sure I missed that one. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. So going back to that prerequisite, there are more NVA US troops on the map, so that is eligible to be played. Okay, and the US one, my one, again the 2+ cards, and support plus available is greater than 40, which it is at the moment. It's at 38. So that's it. So there's only one at present. So I'm going to keep track of which ones of these become eligible. Just because they're eligible doesn't mean they will be played. Okay. The next step I look at is on here. I need to now look at this step before I do anything with these. So to be able to play an offensive card, any eligible NP non-player faction can play its pivotal event, and current event is not critical, and 1d6 is less than the number of cards in the ARVN leader box. So they would only get to play their card if it's 1d6 less than the number of cards. So they'd have to roll dice. It'd have to be a 1. There's only 2 leaders in the box. So it has to be less than that. So they have to roll a 1 on the dice. So now looking at the cards for this turn, we have myself as the first eligible, and because we're just after a coup, all factions are eligible to play. So I'm first on this card, so I'll get first dibs. But again, I must look at this. So they are an eligible faction, as in the NVA, can play its pivotal event, and the current event is not critical. So I've got to check, make sure this is a not critical event for them, and then roll a 1. And they can then play the critical event, which will then make this card void. It'll just go, disappear. That pivotal event card replaces it. So the key question is this card critical or not critical to the NVA? Card 13 is critical for everybody. So it's not critical, so they will not play their pivotal event. They won't even try. They won't roll that dice to see if they get a 1. Okay, so that's that first little step looked over. So now is my decision regarding Cobras. So it's a capability. So that's very useful. 2 US ARVN sweep spaces, each remove 1 active untunneled enemy. Okay, so normally when you sweep, all you do is you get to turn guerrillas from inactive to active. This will allow me in 2 spaces to actually remove a piece at the same time. And that's very powerful. Good capability. It's also critical for the ARVN, so they would probably play the event as well. Let's have a look at this one, because this is also me first up on the next card. Operation Attleborough, stab at a 9. Right, US free airlifts into, sweeps in, then assaults the space of the tunnel, removing tunnel bases as if no tunnel. Well, that is extremely powerful as well. And that probably would allow me to get rid of this annoying tunneled base and the guerrillas, because I can free airlift in, so I can bring the troops in. I can then do a sweep, which would allow me to activate these, and then I can actually attack the base. And a tunnel base normally can only be removed on a die roll. I think it's 4, 5, or 6. There's a 50-50 chance if you can actually remove a tunnel base. Whereas a normal base you can always remove, as long as everything else has been removed prior to that. But counting that as a normal base rather than a tunnel base, that could be very useful. However, that means I'd have to pass on this card. And hope, well, it looks like as it's a critical event for the ARVN, and it gives, this is a US capability. So I wonder if there's a special instructions for that card. Okay, well, I think I want Operation Attleborough. So I'm going to pass on Cobras. Puts me down there, which means I'm eligible next time. And that gives the ARVN 3 resources. Okay. So they're now up on this card. So on here, we know that's not an event. So they're now the first eligible. Current event is critical and effective. So we know it's critical. I've looked at card 13. It's critical for all factions. Is it effective? And it says here, any capability or flips capability. Well, it's a capability. It does say US, but it does say there any capability. So I believe they play the event, helping out myself and themselves at the same time. So, okay. Look for the event markers. We've now got Cobras effects. That's in 2 spaces, can remove one enemy. That means they play the event. Next up on the card is the NVA. All right, so going back on here. So they're now second eligible. Active faction will be first eligible on upcoming critical event. They won't. I'm first up. And cannot, so that's a pass. No, they ignore that one, sorry. First eligible chose OP and SA. They didn't. Will be first eligible on upcoming card. They won't. First eligible chose OP only. They didn't. Otherwise, OP and SA. So they're doing an OP and special activity. Basically seeing if there was an option for them to pass. If they had been first up on this card, then they would have done. But they're not. Right. So we have to draw a card to see what they're up to. First card that comes up is NVAT. NVAT. Are there 20 plus NVA troops on the map? We already know that is the case, yes. 6 plus NVA troops in any space with coin troops or a coin base. I believe all of the NVA troops, just double check, are, yeah, they're across the board. They're still in home. So the answer to that question is no. So therefore we need to flip the card. Okay. Underground NVA guerrillas in 2 or more spaces with support. Okay, so is there any, well, again, we only have 1 guerrilla across the border. So the answer to that question is no. So here they will be doing special activity and then a march. Okay. 3d6 NVA, well, available NVA troops. Right, so rolling 3d6. That's a total of 11. I think there was only 7 NVA troops available. There is. So the answer to that question there, 11 is not equal to and greater than NVA troops, so they do not infiltrate. They bombard using remove. Again, where the world's a capital, like that, sorry, bold, that's referring to me using the spaces table. Okay, so the spaces table. Remove or replace. So there's no space in Laos and Cambodia with coin control. City or province is set without NVA control. Well, a lot of them have no NVA control. ARVN is a player, so they're going to hit a coin control space. Space with the most population. And city or province with the fewest NVA pieces. City or province with most coin cubes. So most pop and most coin cubes, and where they can actually bombard in the first place. When it comes to the bombard instruction, in 1 or 2 spaces, each with at least 3 US and or ARVN troops, or a US ARVN base, and with or adjacent to a space with at least 3 NVA troops. So that's the normal rules classification. Now they've got 3 spaces with prerequisite amount of troops. They've got to have at least 3 of their own troops. And there's got to be at least 3 US or ARVN troops. So with those in mind, possible are here. This is a base, and there's 3 troops. Here, because there's 4 US troops there. Here isn't at the present moment, because also these 2, this is high pop. These 2 spaces both have 2 pop each, 2 population, whereas Plikau Bdalek only has 1 population. So that's not a high priority target, whereas this one here, Bin Din, is, because it's got 2 population. Quang Tri isn't, because there's no cubes in there. So it's of those 3, going back to their requirements, most pops, so each of those provinces had 2 population. City or province with fewest NVA pieces, none of them got NVA pieces, with the most coin cubes. Okay, will be the first target. So this space has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coin cubes. And this one's got 3, 6, 7. And this one here's only got 4. Okay, so it's those 2. It's only targeting 2. When you bombard, the maximum targeting is 2. So it looks at Kaigang and Bindin are the targets. Now to determine which cubes they remove, because in a bombard, going back on the normal instructions here. Okay. Remove 1 US or ARVN troops cube from each selected space, US to casualties. So looking at the peace priority cubes, and they do it okay, US, NVA, ARVN. So when you remove, you're going in that direction. When you're placing, you go in the opposite direction. So they will remove US first, and then obviously they won't remove our NVA, but then ARVN. So US first. Okay, well, down in this province here, with the most, there is a US piece. So he goes to casualties. Boom. And in Bindin, there are US pieces. So he goes to casualties. Rude. Very rude. Okay. Every 3 of these will go, one of them will go out of play until become available in the next queue. Coup, not queue. The queuing to get there. Right, okay. So that's the first part of the card. Played. The next part on here. So we've done the special activity, is now the march using move priorities. First of all, select 1 line of communication adjacent to US without NVA, and then select marked destinations. Okay, so this is the part I struggle with the most with this Tru'ng thing. So I'm going to work it out, and then so I'm going to pause now, work it out, and then hopefully it will flow a lot easier once I'm actually doing it. Okay, so the first part is the select 1 line of communication adjacent to US without NVA. So I'm going to want to place a guerrilla on there. However, it will not leave bases with no guerrilla protection. So there won't be much from central Laos or northern Vietnam, but they could from southern Laos because there are 2 guerrillas, and they won't be doing it from the Parrots Peaks. So they have 1 guerrilla here that wants to march to a line of communication which is adjacent to US troops. Adjacent to US, I didn't say actual troops. Okay. Now, they've already got 1 on here. So the only line of communication is that one. I know it says 0, but that means that they, from there, if they move again, they can move elsewhere. So he moves to there and is not detected because there's no one on the route to detect him. And he's not going through any other province. He's literally getting onto the road here. He's fine. Okay, so that's the first part done. Well, there's one thing I did forget to do in the coup, is remove the trail down to 3. It's one of the last things that's done, because the only way I'll get back to 4 is if they spend it, and them are obviously spent since the last coup. Yes, this is the first card, so that should have been taken down to 3. That's quite important for the marching options that they will have coming up. So the trail's at 3. Okay, so bringing up the chart. we've got to find our destination. So march destinations, going through. Is there a Laos Cambodia with coin control? There is not, so we ignore that one. Trail is 0 to 3 and adjacent to most troops yet to march. Trail is at 0 to 3, we just determined. And so we've got to find one adjacent to most NVA troops yet to march. Okay, so that will be, they'll be marching. So it's got to be a destination that's adjacent to southern Laos, because that's got the most troops yet to march. So I'm now going to mark possible destinations with these white there. Delete that one now. That one, that was for the special activity. So those are the 4 possible march destinations on that criteria. Trails not street adjacent to both NVA troops yet to march. Carrying on then, city or province in South Vietnam without NVA control. Well, they're all without NVA control. ARVN player coin control. Okay, Quang Tin doesn't have coin control, so that comes off their to-do list. And where did that chart go? Back. Most population. Okay, well, Pleco Dialect's got 1. Quang Nam's got 1. Binh Dinh's got 2. So Binh Dinh is the destination. Okay, so after we've now determined the destination, we've got to see how many troops actually cross the border and invade. Okay, bringing up this dreaded move priorities table. Okay, so we're going down this column here. We've already done this one. We selected the destination. Aoi selected the origin. We know they're coming from southern Laos to Binh Dinh. So that's the invasion. We ignore the star because the trail's not at 4. Okay. Select pieces to keep in the origin. Okay. Well, that step is ignored because it keeps sufficient pieces to change no control in South Vietnam. We're not in South Vietnam yet. Nothing else here. So this one, keep one acting NPA faction guerrilla. So it's telling us what we've got to keep in the origin. There is only 1 guerrilla, so we'll be keeping him there. Keep 3 acting, well, no point keep looking at that instruction because we don't have 3 acting guerrilla and there's no space for available base, so that's ignored. And keep friendly guerrillas greater than enemies on lines of communication. It's not a line of communication we're looking at. So the origin, there is no restriction on pieces to keep there other than that 1 guerrilla. So the actual troops, there is no restriction. And then this column here says select pieces to move to a city or province. It's not a line of communication we're going to, it's a city or province. So again, down the red column. So the first option there, destination in South Vietnam, it is, with coin control, it is, and 2d6 is equal to or less than the NVA troops in origin and destination. Well, the maximum on 2d6 is 12, and there's 14 NVA soldiers there. Okay, so whatever we roll is going to be equal or less than the NVA troops in origin and destination. It says get NVA control. So they'll be moving enough pieces in to gain NVA control. Any other thing else here, space or available base. They won't be moving. If they had enough guerrillas, there would be guerrillas in there to move to gain the ability to place a base. There aren't. Is there a friendly base in the destination? No. Destination is in South Vietnam without coin control. It is with coin control. So everything else there is ignored apart from that particular bullet there. I had to check a wording there because, again, with all these coin gains, wording is vital. So it says there, under that bullet point, get NVA control. That means they move in just enough pieces to get control. No more, no less. All right. So doing that, crossing the border. So now it's neutral. So one more will gain them NVA control. That fulfills that destination. So the next thing we look at on that back on that card was their instructions to carry on or not. Right. So here, right, march when trailers 4, it's not 4, it's 3, so 2. So 1 or 2, that'll be the only destination. 3, 4, 5, or 6, they will march to another destination. Roll the dice. So 1, so that's their march complete. Okay, so that will actually end their faction play because they've done a march, which is the operation, and they've done a special activity. So end faction play, end card play, because ARVN played on the card, and they have, and draw a new card. And that gets me up to Operation Attleborough. Well, that's might change my plans. As I say, with Operation Attleborough was what I was going to play, but now we've got an NVA invasion in the Midlands there. Do I deal with that using this card, Operation Attleborough, as a event? As the operation and special activity, i.e., an airstrike and an assault, or an airlift, because there's not enough troops there at the present moment. An assault. The NVA effectively have gained 2 more victory points, and they're sitting not too bad on 10. Or do I carry on with the original plan? The VC will then have a open special activity coming up. Oh, and I'm first on this card. Oh dear, what does Top Gun give me? It's another capable. Cancel shaded MiGs, airstrikes, degrade trail 2 box. Oh dear, oh dear. Decisions in this game. Because if I go first on this card, that means I'll be ineligible on this card. That means that the NVA will go first. Will they take that event? That is a nice event. It protects their Ho Chi Minh. Of course, they see that as critical. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. I honestly do not know which is the best option here. Well, I think I've got to suck it and see, basically. I'm going to carry on with my original plan, Operation Attleborough. So I'm going to do the event. Okay, so stab at the iron triangle. US 3 airlifts into, then a sweep in, and then an assault space with a tunnel, removing the tunnel base as info. So what do I actually need to do? To reveal those, I've got to have at least 8 American soldiers in here. Because in the jungle, when it comes to sweep, it's a 2-for-1 ratio. Okay. We also know if I sweep, I have that Cobra, so remove 1 anyway. So, but I'm gonna need 8 troops in there. I've got 4 already, so I've got to bring 4 in. Now, with an airlift, a free airlift allows me to move troops from 4 spaces, well, interchange 4 spaces. So I could have an airlift from here, that would count as 1. Here for 2. I don't really want to lower my troops up in the north. I think we're going to get more and more problems from this NVA. And I'm going to have to deal with them at some point. So that's 2 spaces, and I want to bring them into Tain In. Okay, so we will be bringing, that's 3 spaces. We'll take, well, that'll be the 4. That's 4 spaces. So bringing in 1. Keen on that one. 2, 3. I think I want to keep that one in by Zion. Because we've got full, we have only got passive support there. So I'll take it from Hein Hoyer. There we go. So that's my airlift. Free sweep. So 2 for 1 here in the jungle. So these all get activated. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as I sweeped with that capability, I've got my Cobra helicopters. We take out one of those. And then an assault in the jungle is a 2-to-1. No, assault in the jungle is 1 for 1. It's assault in mountains is 1 for 2. So we will take out everything here. So as you can see, that is quite a powerful card. I stomped out the iron triangle. Now I'm going to have to pay for that. So that's everything that I can do on that card. So that ends the faction play, but not end the card play. So next up is the VC, and they will be fuming. This is a little aside before I forget about it. I didn't check each of the factions on here before I played Operation Attleborough, because nothing had changed before the ARVN or the VC, and the NVA were ineligible. You've got to be eligible to be able to play your pivotal event. So hence why I didn't need to check, because I know the VC's conditions hadn't changed from the last card, and neither did the ARVN, and the NVA were ineligible because they acted on the previous card. But I just thought I'd clarify that point. Right, so with the VC, they are second eligible on this card, the Operation Attleborough card. Will they be first eligible on upcoming critical event? Well, they're not going to be first eligible here, even though I'm out, the NBA will be. So ignore that one. First eligible chose Op and SA. I didn't choose that. Will be first eligible on upcoming card? No. First eligible didn't choose that option either. So otherwise they will now play an Op plus SA. Op and special activity. Whereupon we draw a card for them. Okay. And we get VCU. Okay, VCU. 3+ VC guerrillas in any space. I believe there are at least one space with 3+ VC guerrillas. There we go, Quang Tin. The answer to that question is yes. Underground VC guerrillas in any space not at active opposition. Okay, active opposition, active opposition. This one here is a passive. Underground VC guerrillas in any space, not at active opposition. Yes, terror. Okay. Well, I thought they had done recruit, but then again, it depends on the card. So this card is saying they would rather gain the support where they can. Select spaces using place terror. Okay, let's bring that down and the other shot up. Okay, place terror. City or province not at active opposition. Right, we know there's got to be a guerrilla that can do that. So this will be one of the places they can do it. Have we got anywhere else? No. There's no guerrilla here. Everywhere else they have got guerrilla is got active opposition. So it looks like they're going to be doing it in one space. It must be short of resources, hence why they're not rallied. Okay, so that's their only option. Wherever else is guerrillas, they already hate me. So, okay. So they'll do a terror activity here. Terror flips the guerrilla, makes him active, changes the passive opposition to total opposition. They'll gain some points. Okay. There is nowhere else they can do it. So let's have a look at VCU card, terror. Select spaces using, yeah, got to keep whether they've got a base. 2 underground guerrillas. 2 plus underground guerrillas. There must be 2, yes, there must be 2 guerrillas. So if they'd only had 1 guerrilla here, they wouldn't have been even able to do that. At that point, they would probably have to draw a fresh card. Okay, so that's the terror part. Oh, almost the terror part done. I actually need to mark the space with the terror marker. So that can't be done again until the next 2. Not in that space anyway. Right, so here's special activity. Patronage is equal to or greater than 17. They will subvert. Patronage is 15. So they will tax in 1d3 spaces. They will tax in 3 spaces. They are short of money. Right. Where there's a base, where 2 plus underground guerrillas, so again, they will no longer try and tax here because they've only got 1 guerrilla. Okay. Where they've got a base, so they need to protect the base. So how many spaces do they actually have guerrillas in? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 4 spaces and they're taxing in 3 of them. So let's have a look at their taxing orders. Tax. Most total opposition, well, they've all got 2 in. City or province with the most VC guerrillas. Okay. So that will be the last. There's only 1 guerrilla there. 2 there. There's 3 here and there's 3 there. So it's going to be those, definitely those 2 places. So when it comes to taxing, you activate a guerrilla in each space. You change the opposition down. As I said in every video where I've done this, they do no one likes to be taxed. So those people start thinking that maybe the government isn't so bad. That's just cost them 4 points. That's very, very, the VC are actually doing poorly at the present moment. This is an actual bad card. They should have done a rally. They've got so many troops sitting here, but the card is not dictating that. So whoever's playing that must be, it's assuming therefore that they have very little money to actually rally. Hence why they're now taxing. Okay, so that's 2. The next place would be here for the 3 places, because it's still got more gorillas than Hin Phong. That will also go just towards support. And then when you look back on that tax card, shift aggregate total +1 for each pop econ taxed. So they've taxed here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the agitate total has increased by 5. 2, 5. Okay, so that ends their operation and their special activity. Okay, so end faction play, end card play. Creates the gap there, yeah. And draw card. Okay, well, you want to call that an episode? In fact, we had 2 card plays there. Interesting. We now have troops in the north. I'm ineligible to do anything about that. So I wonder what the ARVN can do about it, because they are now threatening this base. NVA will be up, but looks like they'll probably take the event. But we'll find out when we do the next episode. So if you enjoyed what you've been watching, please click the like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Any comments will be much appreciated, as always. Any questions or anything like that, the comments helps me, guys, because I'm learning this system as well. Ask questions, I can dig further, do a bit of research. If you've seen me doing something obviously wrong, there are a few people watching this. Anything in the comment section, they can actually then learn as well. A group mind, hive activity, whichever way you want to look at it, we're all here to learn and enjoy these games. So yeah, any comments, much appreciated. Till next time, bye.